Welcome to Midweek Devotional. Let's dive into it. We once again have confirmation that God is speaking to us in this season, and He has a very specific message for us. So, let's dive into it. Here's the clip from last Sunday's message.
Really, you only have two options in the Christian life. One is to stay in the wilderness, and the other is to go to war.
So, Pastor Stephen Furtick preached this past Sunday about Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 1. Now, what does Deuteronomy 20 have to do what we've been talking about in the story and book of Jeremiah? Well, Pastor Stephen made 3 points. He said to remember, to resist, and to remain. The first point being remember. Now, Deuteronomy chapter 20, verse 1 says, when you go out to war against your enemies, it's when you go out to war. It's not if you go out to war, it's when. We spoke about in our very first video on this series about Jeremiah. When the Lord calls you, you don't really have an option. We're saying yes, and I hope that in your life you have said yes already, that you've decided to take the challenge of trusting God in this season. When we go out to battle, we have to remember that it is a battle that is absolutely beyond our ability. Deuteronomy chapter 20 verse 1 also says, you will see horses and chariots and an army larger than your own. You shall not be afraid of them. It's exactly what we spoke about. When God calls us, we're unqualified. This thing is bigger than us, but it's room for Him to do the impossible. It's room for Him to do the thing that only He can do. The second point that he made was to resist. To resist the temptation to cut down what God is growing in this season. See, as we were saying, yes, God has taken us into new territory. There are new battles. And as we come up against these things, it's going to feel a little bit uncomfortable. But we need to resist the temptation to trust in our own strength to make it through. We need to resist the temptation to quit altogether and continue to lean into His promises. It's new territory that we're taking. So the battles, they're going to be challenging. But this is confirmation. God is telling us to resist the temptation to quit because He knows there's something greater on the other side. The third and final point was to remain. Remain in His presence. This is exactly what we spoke about last week's message about Jeremiah. God's presence is with us. He promises us His presence. His presence is the only way that we're going to make it through. His presence promises His strength in this season. His presence promises victory. If we remain in Him and remain in His strength and remain in His promises, we will make it through. This is the message that Pastor Stephen Furtick preached this Sunday. And once again, I admonish you, go ahead and watch that video in its completion. But this is just further confirmation. God is speaking to us in this season. He is giving us the resources, the tools. He's giving us His word and His promises so that we can make it to the other side, so that we can trust in Him deeper, get closer to Him, and know Him better. So I pray that you're encouraged and that you would lean closer to Him in this season. Peace.